You feel like a fraud when you pray because doubt has moved into your chest and made itself at home. Our culture tells you doubt is healthy. Question everything. Deconstruct your beliefs. Find your own truth. And there's wisdom in that approach. Critical thinking matters. Blind faith can be dangerous. Intellectual honesty is a virtue. But what happens when the questioning never stops? When doubt becomes not a tool for finding truth, but a weight that crushes the possibility of finding anything at all? The modern world is excellent at teaching you to doubt. It celebrates the courage to question. But it's terrible at teaching you what to do when doubt becomes your constant companion. When faith feels like a memory from someone else's life. When prayer becomes an exercise in talking to yourself. Jesus himself knew this territory. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed words that sound almost like doubt. "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Matthew 26:39. This wasn't casual uncertainty. This was anguish, wrestling with a path he didn't want to take. Even on the cross, he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Matthew 27:46. The Son of God experiencing abandonment, feeling forsaken. This wasn't weakness. This was the deepest kind of faith, faith that continues even when God feels absent. Thérèse of Lisieux understood this better than almost anyone. She's known as the Little Flower, beloved for her childlike trust in God. What most people don't know is that for the last 18 months of her short life, she lived in complete spiritual darkness. Born Marie-Françoise Thérèse Martin in 1873 in France, she lost her mother when she was 4. This early encounter with loss marked her deeply. She was sensitive, prone to tears, what her family called Little Queen, for her strong will. Yet at 15, she convinced the bishop to let her enter the Carmelite convent at Lisieux, driven by an extraordinary desire for holiness that bordered on obsession. For years, she experienced profound, mystical consolations. She felt surrounded by God's love, like a warm embrace. Prayer was sweet. Faith was certain. She developed what she called her little way of spiritual childhood, trusting completely in God's mercy like a child trusts a loving father. Then everything changed. At 23, this woman who had written eloquently about confidence in God's mercy found herself in what she called the thickest darkness. It began around Easter 1896 and lasted until her death from tuberculosis in September 1897. She wrote to her sister Pauline, "When I sing of the happiness of heaven and of the eternal possession of God, I feel no joy in this, for I sing simply what I want to believe." The woman who wrote some of Christianity's most beautiful reflections on trust was singing about beliefs she could no longer feel. She described her state this way: "I am assailed by the worst temptations of atheism." She wrote in her autobiography, "He permitted my soul to be invaded by the thickest darkness, and that the thought of heaven, up until then so sweet to me, be no longer anything but the cause of struggle and torment." Think about that. One of Christianity's greatest saints, canonized for her trust in God's love, spent her final months feeling like an atheist. The very idea of heaven, which had once filled her with joy, now brought only confusion and doubt. She would tell her sisters that she felt as if she was sitting at the table with unbelievers, forced to eat the bread of sorrow. But here's what she discovered in that darkness. Faith isn't a feeling. It's a choice you make in the absence of feeling. "I will force myself to perform actions of faith," she wrote, "even though I am without the consolation of faith." She understood something profound that 2,000 years of Christian wisdom confirms. Doubt doesn't disqualify faith, it refines it. "I want to believe," she wrote. "I act as if I believe." This wasn't pretending. This was faith at its most essential. Will choosing love when love feels absent. I want to be careful here about what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. I'm not suggesting that doubt is always a spiritual gift or that questioning your beliefs is necessarily a sign of growing faith. Sometimes doubt is just doubt. Sometimes faith crises lead to the end of faith, and that's a real human experience that deserves respect and understanding. What I am saying is that the presence of doubt doesn't automatically disqualify the possibility of authentic faith. The greatest figures in Christian history walked through seasons when God felt absent, when prayer felt empty, when belief felt more like an act of will than an experience of truth. Thérèse shows us that faith can survive the complete absence of religious feeling. That choosing to love God when you can't feel God might be the purest form of love there is. The mystics called this the dark night of the soul. It's not a detour from the spiritual life. It's often the very heart of it. Your doubt might not be evidence that you're losing faith. It might be evidence that your faith is growing up, that it's moving from feeling to choice, from emotion to commitment, from dependence on spiritual consolations to something deeper and more mature. The saints who experienced this darkness weren't less holy. They were walking a particular path that leads to a particular kind of union with God, a union based not on what you feel, but on what you choose day after day in the absence of any emotional confirmation. Your doubt might not be the enemy of your faith. It might be faith in its most honest form, faith that chooses love in the dark.